you basically run the park staff here and over at Summit. How did you go from being just a snowboarder and a rider to getting involved with, putting together these sick parks all over the place?
Well, I just kind of was a snowboard shredder and snowboard bum, and I moved up here after high school to Big Bear, and got a job with Snow Summit, and I think it was the right timing, and a lot of fortunate luck for me, and I just kind of started working with the parks, and that was still new, and one thing led to another, and now I work with both mountains here in Big Bear Mountain and Snow Summit, and I also have my own company, and I go around the country and go really around the world and do all kinds of different events and parks and film projects that involve snowboarding and jumps and whatnot.
Right. Whenever you come to town and people know that you're going to be building the park, there's so much hype and so much publicity because you seem to be the man. How is it when you go into these towns and people are just like, man, you're going to design our park? It's got to be a great feeling.
I don't really focus on any of that other than just working really hard and working with the different people and kind of giving them the ownership. I'm just really there to kind of help out and tweak things. I don't like to take a lot of credit for that because those mountains are all great places and have great people, and I just kind of bring to the experience that I have and try and work together and make it as good as it can be.
And with the jibs and the rails and the jumps and each mountain is different. How do you go from putting it on, having it on paper, having it as an idea in your head to getting it all the way, designed where these guys are shredding off the jumps?
Well, with snow, there's so many different factors. The weather, obviously, the amount of snow that you have, the type of equipment that you have, the pitch of the run. There's so many variables that, a lot of it is coming up with a plan, but then being ready to adapt to whatever the situation calls for. If it's going to be super sunny like this and 80 degrees out, it certainly changes the characteristics of the snow. And so I just, you work with what you have and try and, again, make it as good as it can be. I think the biggest thing I got going for me is that I never quit until it's as good as it can possibly be.
Now, let's talk about Xbox. Xbox came to you a couple years ago and said, you're the man in the parks, and we want to take your ideas and we want to put it onto our video games. How has that changed, what you guys are doing out here on the mountain?
Well, the cool thing about the Xbox guys is they don't really want that to affect the how we do things on the mountain. They want the mountain to affect how we do things in the game, and that's what's so cool. I think the reason why myself and my company, Snow Park Technologies, got hired by them was that they wanted authentic, good stuff that really represented what snowboarding is all about. And so that's what we got, and that's what we give them. And for me, it's one of the funnest projects I worked on because it's not the ridiculous hours and late nights in a cat. It's not backbreaking work. It's sitting there with some really high-tech computer dudes that know how to program that stuff and make it look awesome.
Now, before you go hang out with the engineers, do you get together with a bunch of your buddies and say, hey, it would be really cool if we, we had a run that had a rail coming down and attached into this and going over this, restaurant or whatever and doing all that stuff? Do you sit down with your friends and kind of like brainstorm that? Or?
Well, I've been doing that for years with them, so now just the stuff that's maybe not conceivable, it's conceivable but not executable on snow, we can do it in a video game.
Yeah, and that was my next question. It seems like some of these video games, these guys come out here and they play the video games and they think up some really crazy tricks and then they take it over to their local resort and they seem to try the stuff and bust out. Have the video games helped the snowboarding scene and helped snowboarding grow, you think?
I think just because video games in general is such a huge industry that it's certainly carrying over and maybe making new people that wouldn't otherwise try snowboarding get into it. Same thing with skateboarding with some of the skate games. I mean, my little brother, Cody, who's probably watching this because he lives in San Diego, is a total video game fan. He's a total snowboard fan, so he just pumps him up when he's playing the game. He calls me, I want to get up there and ride. He's supposed to be here this weekend, so where are you, dog?
What do you think? Tell me about the new video game. You have the new game coming out very soon. How's that different from the first one?
Man, AMP 2 is so rad. I mean, I can name a bunch of things. Obviously, we've tried to step up the levels and the type of terrain. We've built a huge terrain feature library. The animation is just, my hat's off to those guys. It almost looks like a movie. It's so good. And then with the addition of Snowskate, it's like the raddest thing ever because it's basically like skating on the biggest stuff you can. And there's just a lot more fun secret elements of the game that you'll just have to check out when it comes out. But it's pretty dang sweet.
Gunny, thanks a lot for having us.
No problem.
We'll see you out there.
All right.
All right.